Welcome to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and of course a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Townsend Guard, I'm a law professor, and I just wanna quilt. So this is an interview with Mattie Rhodes Haines. She is the owner and genius behind Quiltsmart, which is interface that has the directions for a quilt printed on it. I know that's hard to imagine, but it's super interesting. She sent us samples to have me play with it, and I made a double wedding ring quilt. That's a really hard thing to do. Anyway, this is the interview with her. I hope you enjoy it. And her company is also the company behind the Mondo bag. This is where it began. Super interesting.
It's Mattie.
Mattie, I am so excited to hear from you. Hold on just a second. I am going to just pause 1 second. I'm going to go grab something. Hold on. Are you on the computer or on the phone today? Are you calling by computer or phone?
Well, I'm on the computer, but it sounds really tinny. I'm wondering, is it there's no video, right? We're just
no video, but I'm going to show you something. Can you see me?
Oh, I can see you though.
Look at it. I made it. I did it.
That's beautiful.
I know. It's kind of amazing. I had a lot of self-doubt. You've been with me a lot the last week or so. I followed the directions, and look, it looks really pretty. So I still have to bind it. So
I mean, you've got it quilted and everything. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, so I still have to do the binding, but yeah, I think that this is pretty remarkable. So and it looks so pretty and perfect, and it was easy. And if I just kept I had to keep breathing. I was just okay, just do this step and do not panic. And so it was easy. It was okay, I can do this, right? I can sew on these lines. That's easy. I can turn them. That's easy. So it really changed my feeling about double wedding rings. So yeah, I'm a convert.
I've been that attitude with technology.
Yeah,
that I can do it. It's just one step at a time.
Exactly. So I was really, you were the, we had gotten a couple of patterns, but you were the first to send a kit, and we've gotten some more now. But it just changes the whole nature of sort of the project, because we could kind of experience it and see, and it was really awesome. And my quilting army, so I'll have a few others that we're going to play with the stuff you sent, because it's time consuming to do it all myself, and it's more fun with people. But since you sent stuff, everybody loves your bags. Everybody knows your product. It's kind of remarkable to see. You are very popular, and everybody's excited that we're interviewed. My little army of people are thrilled that we're chatting. So that's my little introduction.
Well, Elizabeth, could you tell me? And is this sound okay for you? Because
yeah, it's great. Are you having trouble on your side still?
Not too bad. It's a little. It's a little tinny, but it's okay.
Okay, yeah, it's coming. It seems to be coming.
Audio, right?
Yeah,
no video.
We're just doing audio. Yeah, just audio.
Yeah, it's okay. Could you just tell me, just in a real nutshell, what the interview? I should have asked before. I'm sorry. It's been a really crazy couple months.
That's cool.
But could you just tell me kind of what the?
Why are we talking? Yes, I can totally do that. So. This project is, I'll sort of do the longish story. So I'm a law professor. I'm a full professor, which means I get to do anything I want now for the first time in my career. And the dean asked me what was my next project, and I thought, I want to do something on quilting. So this project is my project on trying to understand the quilting industry, understand the role of intellectual property in that industry, but not really as the forefront questions. Most of the people I interview, I don't really ask very much about intellectual property, because I can understand the issues as they're talking. The interviews that I'm doing have been all across the spectrum, from, my grandmother gave me a quilt and I admire it but don't know much about it, to industry people to YouTube stars to designers to historians, museum curators, and we've done 60 interviews in the last month. 60.
Wow. You've done how many?
60 interviews.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, and so those interviews will get aired probably from now until maybe May. We're trying to think either two a week or 3 a week. Then we'll probably go to Paducah, and so we went to Quilt Market in the fall. That's where we got 200 plus people that we started talking with. And then we'll get another set of people, and we'll then do more interviews, and then we'll go back to Quilt Market. That's kind of the idea. But I'm trying to get between 200 and 300 interviews over the next 2 years or sooner, to really get a sense of sort of what does this industry look like. And what we see with other parts of intellectual property is that there are spaces that are protected traditionally by trademark, copyright, patents. But then there's other spaces that aren't, and there's other like sort of customs and sort of how people approach things. And I wanted to do that for the quilting industry because it's really cool, and there's a lot of interesting components of it. And I felt like the intellectual property field wasn't paying much attention to it, so I wanted to sort of take that up as my project. So that's what we're doing. And that's it.
On a side note, for me, I've been. You're like probably the person in the entire world then that I would need to talk to about what I would like to do.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, maybe
it's better if you do it. And I could be one of your people. But
fabulous.
Yeah, I have had a couple of issues, and I feel very sad that our industry simply, sorry to say, but doesn't seem to care.
That's really interesting.
And it's like, oh well, somebody copied you, big deal, too bad, just cry and then move forward. And nothing happens, there's no accountability. It feels like there should be some sort of I think Quilts Inc., who puts on all the trade shows wholesale, are really the only ones that do that. And I sort of feel like, and I've never talked to them about this either, but it sort of feels like they should have sort of I don't know what you would call it, like a stamp of approval or something.
Yeah. Because are you seeing at Quilt Market people who are infringing on the stuff that you're doing? Do you see people copying you and then they're at Quilt Market? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, I had an extremely big name, probably someone you've talked to, and I won't repeat the name, but copy me. It was awful.
Now, are they?
And I had it from the emotional side.
Oh, yeah.
What I keep thinking is that a seminar at Quilt Market would be fabulous, and there's lots of people. Lori Harsh from Fab Shop Pop would love to do some articles on it. Have you talked to her at all?
No, I haven't. That's really
she's great. My husband Steve, she was asking him if he would write one down. He's not a lawyer, but he knows a lot about it. But I guess it's been sort of a little bit of a poo-pooed topic at Quilt Market.
Yeah, this year they had Heather Kubiak, who's a local attorney who does stuff with quilting and craft, and I like her a lot. She's willing to come and chat on this project. So she's somebody to think about as well. And I think one of the questions is, she did a general kind of what is copyright, what is trademark kind of thing, but we might think about what are really the specific questions you want answered. Or when there is somebody who is infringing or doing something that you're not happy about, what do you do about it? A more specific kind of industry-specific talk as opposed to a traditional general talk about intellectual property.
I think it would be great.
Yeah,
typically when you start talking, it's if you're going to talk to an attorney, I don't know what you charge an hour, but I've found between $3.50 now seems kind of cheap.
Yeah.
And what you have invested in your patterns,
right.
You can do the math real quick and realize that
it's not worth it.
It's a while. It makes sense. But yet they still copied, then there's no accountability.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And there's all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll put you in touch with Heather, but maybe thinking through, and Bob, talking to Bob at Quilt Market about, something that is more targeted to, what happens when that moment is that, oh my gosh, there is somebody who's copying me. What do I do about it? And what are the options? Might be a really great thing,
Well, and I think even a little worse is it's when you find out they've already copied you.
Yeah.
And, well, my own story is longer winded than that, but there's this whole kind of, what can you do, I think, emotionally, as well as just what can you do?
Yeah.
And maybe without an attorney, because so many times it doesn't pay to have an attorney for, one particular pattern. However, it would be fabulous if there were attorneys that understood the quilting industry. Like, for example, 20 years ago when I started my business, I went to 2 different attorneys and asked if I could get patents. And they all told me, oh, no, this wouldn't be patentable.
Yeah.
Now, you just worked with it. They told me I should copyright the designs, but the concept is patentable. And since then, I've learned that
some of the right.
Well, a process patent for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, no one else is doing that.
Yeah.
Or is.
Right.
But anyway, so just knowing different people that you could go to that understand the industry would be fabulous.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. Yeah, because it's funny, when I first started this project, I started to look around at who was talking about quilting in a legal way. And there were some out there that really clearly didn't even know anything about quilting, that were putting themselves out as people that might know. So it is frustrating, because you have to sort of understand what the business is to be able to help you a little bit, so.
Oh, I totally think so. Yeah. I mean, so, the average person, lawyer or not lawyer, that thinks about quilting, that doesn't know quilting, thinks that we make blankets. That's about it.
It's true. They have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get asked all the time, oh, don't you just love that you get to sit and sew all day? I'm like, well, I wish.
Right.
That's not what happens.
All right. So we're going to start with the first question we ask.
Okay.
We're like 10 minutes in.
I'm sorry. I feel like I took it over.
No. It's good. This happens sometimes, which I totally adore. So the very first question is, what's your first memory of someone in your life quilting or sewing?
That is a great question. Because you said first memory.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother had a seamstress who had a coat closet in my grandmother's house, where the sewing machine was at the end of the coat closet. And there were still coats hanging in there too. And that would be, and quite honestly, I don't even know if I ever met the seamstress. I just know about her. And my grandmother didn't sew, my mother didn't sew, no one I knew sewed. But that would be my very first memory.
That's really interesting. Now, when did you get interested? I'm presuming you like to sew, but how did you learn to sew? How did the business begin? Sort of, when did you become interested in quilting?
Well, the first part, the learn to sew part, I was a Girl Scout, and so I was 11, and the leader said we could either buy a skirt or make a skirt. And so I went home and lied to my mother and said that the leader said we had to make a skirt.
I like that.
And my mother, I told her only a few years ago that I had lied to her. Then she said, oh, I never knew.
You came clean just a few years ago?
Yeah. But the older she gets, oh my gosh, I gotta clean this up before.
Right. I like that. That's
The
funny.
only thing that I remember about that, those I remember taking me to the fabric store to get the pattern and the dark green fabric.